He's the one, he's the only, Paul Loughlin.
Nice to see you, mate. Welcome. Right, these are very full in here today, so we have to So I just want to start, just obviously how you got into rugby league. Where did you play amateur rugby, and who was your first coach?
My dad actually used to play here. I think he played about 10 games here, but obviously I was a St Helens lad, so I used to watch the Saints with my dad, and he was a coach at UGB, and Barry played a long time ago, so I think I used to go everywhere with my dad watching rugby, and I started playing at St Teresa's school, and then I went to West Park, and then it was rugby union there. So I stopped playing league, and then I moved to Loughlin with my mum when I was about 12, 13. There weren't many amateur clubs knocking about then. There was only Wiggy St Patrick's and not so many round St Helens. But so we got a team up, under 16s team of Saints, they called it the Hounds. And myself and Sean Allen played Bernard Dwyer, Dave Lee, so there was a couple of us staff from there.
Obviously, like, was it always ever rugby league for you, or was it just because your dad played, you thought, oh, I would have a go, but was it always your first love?
Well, rugby and football, I was a mad Liverpool fan back in the day when Kenny Keegan played. And but obviously, growing up near the grounds on Sydney Street, there, just off Reminsce Road, and climbing over the fence, watching 18 games. You always got caught on first team games, but waiting for the gates open at half time so you could walk in and watch the second half. So it's always Saints, and some of my heroes, on this wall when I used to watch them.
So were you a Cliff Watson man?
It was a bit before me, and Eric Chisnall, George Nichols, Harry Pinn, and hence heaps.
And then obviously you moved on. You signed the Saints. And what was that feeling like? Obviously being an hometown boy, it's a big thing.
It was. I mean, that's all we wanted to do when you was a young lad around here. Playing rugby was starting for your hometown club. Fortunately, I did when I was 17. Myself and Sean Allen, who played in that team, and then Sean was a regular first teamer. I had my time and got my chance when I was 17, about 6 months after I'd signed on, but Sean had established himself in the side, so there was loads of competition in them days, and young lads trying to make it, and Sean did, and then I got my chance about 6 months later.
So your debut game was back in 1984 against Oldham. I can't remember, was that here or was that at Oldham?
It was at Saints.
So it was at Saints, so it wasn't the dreaded water shedding. So what's your memories of making your debut, Paul, and actually running out onto Northwood Road for the first time in front of a big crowd?
Well, I've been playing OK in the A team, and we had the Colts team, which is like the academy now, and I was doing all right, and it was a Wednesday night match, and actually the date was the 1st of April 4th. So there was no mobile phones obviously then days, and I was at my mum's house and the phone rang, and my mum answered it and said, shouted to me, said Billy Bennion's on the phone. So I ran the phone and actually thought it was Neil Holding landing me up. I'm not going to swear because I'm not going to say what I told him. I put the phone down, the phone rang again, it was Billy again. He said, you speak to me like that, you want to play for this club. So obviously, he said, you'd be starting on the bench, so I was made up. In them days, you had to play 14 first team games for a club blazer, but you had to play 5 games for a tie. and I've not got a jacket, so I borrowed my granddad's jacket, a big caper tie, and I couldn't drive then, so I get the bus from Ashton, and got off, I think it was a 3:20, I got it from Ashton, went through Haydock, and then got off at the Birdieland, and walked it down to the ground with some of the fans. I was then excited when I got to the dressing room. I'd left my boots at home because you only had your boots at the club once you was an established player. So anyway, I told my manager that I forgot my boots, and he said, "You best tell the kit man," who was Eric Leach. So I was very nervous. So I told him. He said, "Right, stand up." So I stood up, 6'3", 10 stone wet through. He looked down and he said, "I've just got a pair might fit you." Never asked me what size I was. And he come back with a pair of John Mantle's Earl boots. They were, I think, the size 13, and I was only in 11s. I was that scared. I just put them on. And I said to Barry, I said, "The too big these." He said, "Well, put a sock down front." So I put a sock down front of each boot, tied them as tight as I could with tape and laces. Anyway, like I said, I was on the bench. By half time, I couldn't feel my feet. It was numb with these boots. About 20 minutes ago, I got the call to come on. I think Steve Rule, who was the fullback, went off. I went on the wing. Somebody else went fullback. And the first touch of the ball he had was when I walked on. Harry Pinner said to me, we had a penalty just inside Oldham's half, and he said, "Can you kick this?" And if you know Harry, he's no teeth, and I couldn't understand what he said. I said, "Well, do you want me to kick it?" He said, I thought he meant kick for touch because it was that far out. I'm sorry if you understood the language then, but I'm just telling you how it happened. And I said, "Yeah," so my first touch of the ball was 45 yards out. Still couldn't feel my feet. Put the ball down and he sailed over, a bit of the Rover stuff, but I never forgot my boots again.
I just can't imagine Harry Pinner saying that. I really can't. But you must have played with some characters during your time at Saints. I mean, you have the likes of Roy Egerton, Harry Pinner, you mentioned Neil Loughlin, another bit of a joker. Who was the ones in the team at the time that you think, "Oh God, not again"?
Like I said, there was plenty of characters. Neil Loughlin was probably the funniest fella. He could take anybody off after 2 seconds speaking to him, as you know, Barry.
Yeah.
And he used to say I had a lisp. So every time he seen me, he'd talk with a lisp, and it got that way that everybody spoke to me with a lisp. And I even got one, even though I never had one. I got one now. But yeah, there was some characters like Roy Egerton, God bless his soul. One of my heroes as well, grew on because he was a tough player, but he was also. Sometimes he didn't think what he was saying. I mean, he was in the physio room and we signed these 2 Australians, and he's on the bench. Alice Murphy's the coach, and Roy said to Alice, he said, "Hey boss," he said, "all these Australians come all over here, and they've all got a car straight away. Why can't I have a car? I work here on the ground. I come on my bike. I'll go down, up and down Dunrady Lane on it, back to Fatu Heath, games on it." I said, "I want a car, I've been here 8 years, I've still not got one." He said, "Roy, you can't drive."
Well, I think that's one of many tales. I think the momentous one I heard was about when he went asking for cash from the cash machine, and he, "Can you tell it how much you want?" And he bent down to the machine, didn't he? He said, "Can I have 10 quid, please?" There was some absolute characters, there really was, but eventually you established yourself in the team and you went on to gain international honours. I think the one memory I have you playing was down under in Australia. I think it must have been the 3rd test, and we lost it, and the first 2. And this 3rd test, I'll never forget it. And they threw the ball out to you, and all I could hear is, I forget the name of this blooming comment. I think it's Darryl Eastlake. And Laughlin's got the ball, and Laughlin's winding up, and all of a sudden Paul just flies down the pitch, and he gives it Henderson Gill, and he gets to the end of the pitch, and all you hear is this guy shouting, "And he's on a bit of a boogie!" I think he's got to be one of the most memorable tries ever scored in an international match. What was it like at the time doing that? He must have just been instinctive, like, oh, sod this, let's take him on.
Well, I switched to fullback because I was playing centre, then our fullback went off injured, so I went to fullback. So I was left with it kicking it downfield on the last tackle. And we was trapped in our own half, and as the ball came, it was a bit low. As I picked it up, and since Sam Backo, it was about, the Australian prop, it was about 6'5" running at me. And I knew I wasn't going to get a kick. I thought we were going to get a good yardage, so I just managed to reverse him. And I just kept going past him. And then I got in the clear, and Henderson Gill just breezed up alongside me. It didn't look like he was breaking stride. So I was just giving it him, and I knew it'd go all the way. It was, but I was lucky because I was fortunate enough. I played in 3 Ashes series against Australia. But I was playing with probably some of the best English players that's ever played the game, the likes of Ellery Hanley, Andy Gregory, Gary Schofield, Joe Lydon, Kevin Ward. I could go on, and again, some of the best players like Mal Meninga, Gene Miles, players like that, Wally Lewis, Peter Sterling. So I was very fortunate to play with and against some of the best.
Did you feel like when you got out there on your debut, you're like, oh, bloody hell, I'm out here? Like because of the class of player that you've just round off there, you think to yourself, am I really supposed to be here, or was you just sort of like a duck to water?
Yeah, I mean, there was that. I mean, the first time I got picked, if Steve Hansen had been banned and Joe Lydon had been banned, I probably wouldn't have gone, so thanks for that. But, yeah, but I took my chance, and like I say, I got picked for 2 more Ashes series, so I couldn't have been that bad.
No, you were a player. And obviously, like, representing your country is obviously like the biggest honour that you could ever do. Like, what would it to a young kid nowadays who's got dreams of doing that one day? What would be the one thing that you would say to him and say, this is what you need, this is how you go all the way?
I mean, first of all, it starts at club level or junior level, listening to your coaches and practicing your skills, because at the end of the day, basic skills are what the Australians are very good at. They do it very well. So if you can practice your skills at junior level, then you go to a club, you know, you can further improve your game. And obviously it goes on to the international level. And when you're playing with better players around you, it does help. And it's just looking after yourself, training the best you can, and taking your chances.
Right. And then obviously you left Saints, and Paul Newlove came in, and you went to Bradford with Bernard Dwyer and another Sonny Nicholas. Like, what was that? Was that something that you wanted to do, or was it sort of like you going?
Not going. I never wanted to leave Saints. I've been there, like I said, from being 16. Same with Bernard as well. When we got to Nosey Road, I'd actually signed a Super League contract, and when I got there to St Bernard, he said, "We'll go with Bradford." I said, "Well, not go with Bradford." He said, "If you don't sign, we can't go." He said, "They've offered us loads of money and cars and everything." I said, "Oh, I don't want to go." He said, "Come on, we'll have a laugh." It didn't inspire me, so I went in and spoke to the board. It was all sat there, and I just said, "I don't want to go signed. I'm not going to name who it was," said to me. "But if you don't go, we're going to sign Paul Newlove anyway. We've got Scott Gibbs, we've got Andy Nordy, so you'll just play in the 18. So for me, after like 13 years there, it was a kick in the teeth. So I went next door and I signed for Bradford, and actually we did have a laugh.
He's not, I know Bernard very well. He knows his stuff. He's a nice man. But obviously, when you go there, it's a completely different environment. Was it sort of like the best thing that ever happened to you? Give you a new lease of life?
Yeah, it did actually. I I was injury free. I was like that my last season at Saints in that sense. I'd suffered with broken arms, hernia operations, knee operations, and it was the first time I was not been injured for a few years. I was fully fit, and I proved that. I mean, I think I scored 8 tries in that centenary season. I was getting my confidence back. But when I went to Bradford, like I say, I just carried it on. And I'll tell you a funny tale actually, if it is funny. When we first went to Bradford, me and Bernard went to Bernard's car, and if you've been, or an ex-player, or you've been on your holidays somewhere, you sit on a coach, you never take much notice where you're going. We knew where Bradford was, but we're just a bit unsure where the ground was. So we get off the motorway, we're going towards Loughlin Stadium, and I said, it's somewhere around here. I said, I'll ask that lad there, he had a Bradford top on. So once I went down, I said, hey mate, I said, how'd you get to Bradford Stadium? He said, oh, my uncle normally texts me. So we carried on a bit more up the road, and there was an old fella leaning on his gate, and I said, ask him, he must know where it is, must be close. So I asked him, and I said, excuse me pal, I said, do you know where Loughlin Stadium is, Bradford Bulls? He said, I do. He said, that turns right again, that's the next right, turn right, and text the next right. I said, whoa, I said, we'll be back here. I said, I know it's there. Yeah, we had 2 good seasons at Bradford, and we went to Wembley twice. Unfortunately, we come up against our old club and got beat twice. But we won the Super League, we had a World Club Challenge down under, which was good. So, yeah, and it was a good 2 years. Bernard obviously stayed longer than me and got on the coaching staff, which was good to see.
Yeah, Bernard real technically knows his stuff about the game, and obviously, like moving on as you've done, is coaching's obviously been a big part with the Gareth Stags that you coached. Is that something that you foresee doing more of in the future?
No, I mean, I did it because Gareth Stags we started about 13, 14 years ago, and it was in the pub, the Stag, which is now a Tesco, so we call it Gareth Tesco. I got involved because we were training, and I was going in, and he said, do you fancy helping out? And you know, Billy lives it. There was only who had coaching badges, so I went to do my coaching badges with Leo and Craig Richards from here, and I started doing it, and we've gone from playing friendlies in Merit League, pub games, whatever, and now we're in Division 2, and we just got beat in the playoffs, semi-final to go get promoted again. But it's something like that I like doing for the community. It gives you something back, but I won't go any further than that.
No, it's a tough job. Like you look at all these coaches now, and you think, I wouldn't do your job for a gold pig, because some of the things that they have to be put through, especially if you're coaching at a big club with the fans in it, and if it's not quite going right, you're up for the idol basically.
Yeah, I think there's a saying that goes around: there's coaches looking to be hired and coaches looking to be fired.
Yeah.
And it's very true, very true. You must have played some absolutely fantastic games throughout your career, both at Saints and Bradford. Is there one that particularly sticks out in your mind that you think, that's the best game I ever played? That was the highlight of what I've played at. Which one would you think it is in your career?
Midweek match at Wigan. Malmaninga played.
Well, unfortunately, he took my place.
When it beats at our time, I think you kicked the goals. I
think that was a Boxing Day game, that one. I didn't play so many games with Big Mal, because like you said before, Sean Allen had the other centre spot. So it was. I normally played when it was all away on a Tuesday night.
Sean Day played.
Yeah, that's right, Sean Day, goal kicker. But going back to your question, Larry, I think 1987-88 final against Leeds, John Player, and Leeds had a team full of internationals, and I thought it was going to be the start of something big with the club. And Shane Cooper first come, and we beat Leeds 15-14. I got 2 tries, 3 goals. Neil Loughlin dropped a goal and got all the headlines next game in the paper. So, apart from that, it's probably, because I honestly thought that we'd kick on from this and be a real good force, but they didn't win nothing against the Lancashire Cup.
And if you were to like have a dinner party,
We know what's coming now.
if you were to have a dinner party and you could invite whoever you wanted, whether dead or alive, like over your life, who would it be and why?
So think of 3 that you do, 3 guests you'd have along. It can be dead or alive. Who would they be and possibly why?
Well, I definitely have Neil Loughlin, you keep your entertained.
Would he be your mascot?
He just take mickey out of me all the time, but Bernard, I mean, I've known Bernard since he was 10, a friend, and we've travelled everywhere together. I don't know, no. I don't know.
Must be other sportsmen.
Paddy Lock.
Yeah, probably tell me daddy. Well, he'd probably still let me over the head with his boot like when I was a kid, like, but, you know, I mean, I don't know, I've met so many people in my life playing rugby, yeah, like you say, any sport you make friends for life, but certainly if there's that be something to do with rugby.
I always say this to people, and people ask me on a weekly basis, what makes rugby the best game in the world? And for me, it's not necessarily about the game; it's about the people that you spend your experiences with and your days with. So it's not necessarily about the technical stuff. It's more about, you know, we had a good crack there, we had a few pints, and you know, we enjoyed our time.
Well, you find that probably in any sports. Like I said before, you make friends for life, and when we meet here, the past players for the game, it's as though we're still young and nothing's changed. Still take mickey out of each other, and that's, I think it's any sport really, but rugby players are all, I mean, I go on the lines dinners and I meet players who I've not seen, like I said, for years, and it's just like, you know, yeah, so it's good, and I think, like I said before, in rugby, because it's like local towns, whatever, you'll find that a lot of people have known each other since they was 10 and grown up that way, or watched them, other players who were older than you. So it's all seems to be a community thing, really.
And I have to ask you, while you're here, obviously you've been a great written star, I have to ask you about the recent test series and what your opinions were, and if you had a role, what you'd do different maybe.
I just think it's been that long since we played them. I mean, we watch them on the telly, the Australians, we always seem to be catching up. I just thought they look more organised. I think Sean Wayne could have picked Connor, could have picked Lewis to start at the half-backs. You know what I mean? I'm not the coach, but they look bigger than us, they look faster, and it's always been the same, apart from that 90s, late 90s, 2000s era. I think the fellow who went fielding, the Australian, he summed it up when he said when he was playing against Great Britain, they had forwards over 6'5". I think it was only Walmsley who was pretty that big, and they had the likes of Peacock, Farrell, Fielding, Burgess, you know, people like that. Our pack didn't look as big as it has done, but I I think that what they've got to do is keep playing Australia. The more you play them, hopefully our better players are going over there. So I don't know. It always seems to be a bit of a catch-up playing in Australia.
Do you think there's a fear factor?
I don't think there's a fear factor, but I think it's just when I was on about basic skills before. To just do it better, they do it quicker, and they look stronger. Whether we can up it that way, but I don't think there's no reason why we can't, because they have the best facilities, the best coaches. They're playing on golf courses, really, these pitches. It's not like
It's not like when you
back in there. But so there's no excuses really, because they've got everything there for them.
Me personally, I would just say that what they are, they're extremely clinical. When they get that ball in the final third, you know, if they get a sniff, they're in. And we don't seem to be like that. We don't seem to have that structure.
Oh, that just comes back to basics again. You're doing the basics every day right, it's going to pay off in a game. And that comes with your line running, your passing, where you catch and pass a ball, your tackles technique, and how fit you are getting up and down, and your upper body strength, and a lot of that's just, which is easy fix really.
Well, I've watched rugby for as long as I've been alive, and people always say to me, "Oh yeah, it's getting close. We're getting better." And we are getting better, but it's still a massive gap from what I see on a week-to-week basis when you watch the NRL compared to over here in the Super League.
Yeah, I think rugby over in Australia is the biggest sport, isn't it? So they get more funded, and a lot of people watch it. Probably get more people playing it. But rugby over here, the Ashes test, I don't think you've got to mention it in papers. You know what I mean? It's one of them things. I mean, women's football does. I'm not having a go at women's football, but you've got an Ashes test between England and Australia, which should be a massive thing. And there's more all about Chelsea ladies playing than that. So, but it won't happen in Australia, because that'll be the biggest talking point. It's the same with cricket now. England going over there. That's going to be in the headlines all the time.
Well, that's the next thing coming up, and they say, "Oh, we're no good and this and that." But they're always going to say that, and that's what they are. They're brash about how good they are at everything. But as a nation, we need to strive to be better in everything that we do, really.
You've got to do. I mean, we've got to put this sport up there with football if we're going to improve and match Australia.
I don't know about you folks, I think it's been absolutely brilliant having Paul here and hearing some of his tales. I mean, I remember this lad, as he said, when I was at UGB and his dad was coaching there, giving me a kick up the backside now and again, but Paul running around the pitch and he was little, but I've got to admit, what a guy when he was playing, he was somewhere else.
How's your dad going on?
He's alright, I'll tell him he's asking.
If I know Paddy's still giving him a trip round the year now and again to sort him out, but it's what you're doing now, Paul, really matters. Like today, what you've done here, what you're doing at Garswood Stags, without people like you bringing up future players into the game, getting people with a lifelong love of the game, would be nothing. It really would be nothing. And as you've said, the Aussies have got all the core skills. When you was around, you got Meninga, you mentioned Lewis, Sterling, these guys, all have the core skills. And it just seems it's in the DNA every time. They've got this core skill and they pass it on and on and on and on. And it's something that we've just got to work on. We're getting there, believe you me, I've seen it with some of the young ones here. The core skills are there, it's just that little fine tweaks. But we are getting there, So, let's put our hands together for a real superstar of this club. Let's hear the Paul Loughlin, ladies and gents. Thank you, Gareth. Much appreciated, Paul.